Hi, I'm Patricia, and this is Buzz and Bark Animals. Welcome. I had the camera out, so I figured I would just do a weekly video today. I normally do them on Saturday, but this Saturday I'm going to be really busy. So I'm going to take the opportunity to talk about something that is very meaningful to me. And actually, right now, outside the window, the birds are going completely insane, and it's not just because it's spring. They're just flying a lot and coming toward the windows and trying to get my attention. And there seems to be some kind of urgency in the air. And anyways, if you like these videos, please like, share, comment, and subscribe. Okay, so the topic is, what are animals trying to communicate to us right now? Because again, like the birds outside the window, there's this urgency. And I've been getting a lot of communication through mostly dogs and birds. And the birds will be when I'm out walking, or if I don't go outside because I don't feel well, then they'll come toward the window, they'll walk on the windowsill, they'll get on the leaves, the branches right next to the window. They're definitely trying to get my attention. And then the dogs, I have not been able to go for any walk without being barked at by like almost every single dog in the neighborhood. I mean, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but some of the dogs are pent up, and it's not really, I don't want to blame anybody or shame anybody or anything like that. But dogs are, well, you don't want to leave them outside all day, but you also don't want to leave them inside a house or an apartment all day. They need to get out. You also want them to get fresh air. So if they're indoors, and a lot of people use different household chemicals, laundry detergents, there's lots of fragrances, there's electronics, there's all these things which are harming your dogs. And sometimes you think, well, I can't do anything about that, but there's actually a lot of things you can do by making small changes, and it's going to improve. And a lot of people don't want to change, for instance, a product, because they think the other ones are going to cost more. But vet bills are very expensive too, and a lot of these products are making animals extremely ill. Because if you're a dog or a cat or some other kind of animal, you're on the floor, right? So if you're washing the floor with specific product or whatever, and it's got different chemicals in it, they're absorbing that directly into their skin. And we know that the skin is a barrier, but chemicals can get past the skin and get into the blood and get into the organs. And it's not just like that for humans, it's like that for all creatures. And also the vents of a house, if you've got a lot of birds in your yard, or maybe there's cats or whatever it is, and maybe it's your cat wandering around the yard, if you've got like these laundry vents and you've got like these fragrances pumping out into the air, that's pretty strong. I could smell a lot of those fragrances like a block away, or in the least half a block away. And if I were an animal, that would be probably 100 times stronger. So we need to start considering, because I'm getting complaints from animals. Like, I'm getting rants, just like humans rant and humans complain. Animals do too. And it's not always like barking and meowing. A lot of the times it's telepathic, where they're trying to get my attention and they're complaining. They're complaining about the behaviors of the household or wherever it is that they live and how it's affecting them. And there's nothing I can do about it, because I can't just stop somebody on the street who's walking their dog, who's trying to communicate to me, and tell them this without getting myself in a lot of, trouble, maybe even physical harm in some cases. But I'm getting these, again, urgent messages. The birds have been telling me that their populations are declining. Now, can I scientifically back that up? No, I'm not a scientist. I don't count birds. I don't do bird research, but this is the messages that I'm getting from the birds telepathically. Their nests are being disturbed, usually by, sometimes it's feral cats, but sometimes it's house cats that get outside. And a lot of these nests are nearby houses, and sometimes it's because there's warmth coming out of the houses through there's the bird clock. Okay, I think it's like 1 o'clock or something. Anyways, I love that clock. It's cute. So they don't really have a way of conveying this. Although if you learn about body language of animals, whether it's a cat or a dog, then you will start picking up distress signals from your animals, and then you can correlate that with whatever's happening in your household. So say you are doing your laundry, or you just wash the floor and your animals are starting to act really strange, or they might start coughing or sneezing, or they may just get lethargic or really tired, or they want to go outside urgently, like, please let me get some air, kind of thing. That's an indication that that product that you're using, which is also harmful for you, to switch products. And some of the natural products, or say that they're natural, actually aren't either. So you usually have to go to a website like Environmental Working Group, or do some research on the different websites, especially for like chemically sensitive people will start websites. I'm chemically sensitive myself, which is why this is a topic that I care about. However, as sensitive as I think I am, and as sensitive a lot of humans think they are, animals are extremely sensitive. So if something is causing your nose to itch, or you're feeling kind of sick around things, you might have polluted air. And you can use houseplants to clean out the air, but it's better if you don't use the chemicals in the first place. And some houseplants are toxic to cats and dogs, so if they tend to chew on things and they chew on one of the houseplants, you could end up with an emergency vet bill or even death. So you got to be careful with a lot of different things. It's not like the old days where you just brought a cat or a dog into the house, or some kind of pet in the house, and you didn't really have to worry about things. For some reason, our sensitivity has increased. And also, when I was a kid, animals didn't live very long. People's cats and dogs live maybe 10 years. I mean, we thought it was a long time when a dog lasted 10 years. But with the right diet and the right atmosphere and, the right exercise and everything, some dogs are living up to 16, 17 plus years. And the little ones are living a long time. So we want the quality of their life to be good. We want the quality of our life to be good. And they mirror back to us. So if they're getting sick from a product, we might be getting sick too. Now with chemical sensitivity, it can sneak up on you. And a lot of these conditions that come from being exposed to chemicals, like cancer, they don't just happen immediately. So it's not like you go and you get a product and you use it and you know exactly that you got sick from that. It takes a lot of detective work, like medical detective work, to find out what made you originally sick. And you may end up going back 10, 20 years when you used a pesticide around your home, or some kind of mold killer or something like that. And then you go, well, I remember getting rashes around that time. And then your body will do whatever it needs to do to recalibrate and to become in balance again. And so you may feel well for 10 years, and then all of a sudden you get hit with a mysterious illness. Like I became chemically sensitive from a job site where they had carpet glue and mold, and not mold so much, dust and all these other things, and cigarette smoke. But I didn't get really sick until 3 years after that. And then I just had like this bad cough that I couldn't get rid of in the meantime. So by cleaning up your household or changing your behaviors to be in more balance with your pets, you're actually saving your own life too. So this is one of the things that they're upset about. The other things they're upset about is when they're in their bed or laying on a couch and there's a cell phone next to them, and the cell phone is turned on and they're getting the signals from that phone, or the people are always putting the phone in their face and taking pictures of them. That does affect them. And if you need to do that, then look for some sort of protection that you can get your animal, such as there are collars that have quantum energies, or like gemstones, or there's different things out there. Of course, research it, make sure you're not just spending a bunch of money and wasting it. But there are different devices out there and different things that animals can wear that will protect them from, say, EMFs and all these other things, and we can wear those as well. So when we take care of ourselves, we're taking care of them, and when we take care of them, we're taking care of ourselves, because we're interlinked. We're connected so deeply with our pets. It's not like the old days where the family had a pet and the pet was just kind of there, like in the house or in the yard or whatever. It's more that they're shifting their consciousness, we're shifting our consciousness, and our relationship is being renegotiated. And a lot of people are being called to get pets now who don't have them, and they're One of the things I would tell you to do is to prepare your house, look for things that might be toxic to them and remove those things, and start changing your lifestyle if you need to. Some people already have a clean lifestyle. And, even getting filtered water, a water purifier, things like that, so that the water you're drinking and the water they're drinking doesn't have, arsenic or any of these, even radioactive chemicals. Radioactive substances and things can be in drinking water. I'm not saying it's in your drinking water, but a lot of times there's stuff in our water that we don't know about. And it's not always reported until it's too late. So you'll see a news story about it, but then they'll say, well, this has been going on for the last 5 years or the last 5 months or something. So all that time, especially if you've been hydrating yourself and drinking lots of water and giving lots of water to your pets, and now you've got this thing happening. And, there's definitely got to be something out there that you can do about it. I don't like the doom and gloom where they say, oh, this horrible thing happens, there's nothing you can do about it. I think there's always something you can do about it, but to maybe start drinking purified water now would probably be the safest thing in case these other things happen in the future, especially with a lot of the things that have moved into rural areas. And then, of course, they're finding now pesticides and herbicides and aquifers. So if you live in a rural area, your water might not be good, right? Your well water might not be good, or wherever you're getting your water from. So, drink purified water, give purified water to your pets, or do what, put some filters or whatever you need to do. I know it's expensive, but maybe you can find a way that it won't be expensive, or maybe they're replacing their filter with something new, and then they have an old one they don't need anymore that's still working, and maybe they'll give it to you, or I don't know, just put it out there that you want to make things safe for you and your pets. And so the other thing is dogs need to go for walks. They need to get exercise. Now you could take them to a park and have them fetch and frisbees or whatever, and then that would be exercise for them. But they also need to sniff, and they need to be able to have mental stimulation as well as physical. And this is going to be even more important than it's ever been going forward, because just if you were, so you could easily become depressed if you were in the same environment every day. Like when I'm at my worst with these medical conditions I have, I don't go anywhere. So then I'm just stuck indoors. I do try to go for a walk when I can, but there are times where I just don't feel like it. And then I notice that if I'm not moving, if I'm not going outside, if I'm not getting intellectual stimulation, even if it's reading a book, if I'm not doing any of those things, I start getting really depressed and anxious. And I think it's the same for animals. So if you have a dog that never gets to go for a walk, or maybe once or twice or 3 times a week, now they got to go every day. And some breeds need to go for a walk 2 or 3 times a day. Now it doesn't have to be like miles and miles unless you're really athletic and you want to do that. But I also keep seeing over and over again that people have the wrong dog breeds. Now you're probably going to be okay with a mixed breed, but I find that people aren't able to handle, when I watch these videos of stray dogs and dogs being surrendered to shelters, and and the people will complain that, oh, this dog is too strong for me, or this dog runs away all the time, or this dog has digging behaviors, or whatever it is. Well, they obviously didn't research that breed, or when they went to the shelter didn't screen them well, or they didn't read the material at the shelter saying what the dog's habits are and what its needs were and all of that. So it's great to adopt a dog and to give a dog a home, but make sure it's the right fit for you, because otherwise you're going to cause more trauma to that dog if you take the dog back to a shelter, or you just let them out, like they keep running away, and then you don't look for them anymore, and now they're just wandering around the streets. So there's a lot of things like that going on, where if a dog keeps running away, there's a reason for it, and it's not necessarily a personal ego reason for you. It's that their needs aren't being met. And a lot of the times the needs aren't being met because there was no research, or the dog didn't go to a trainer. Like you get a dog from a shelter, you don't know its background, you don't do any socialization, or you just assume that you just bring the dog in your household and that's it, and you don't have to do anything anymore. Well, I think most people know that's not true. and people do get trainers, and they do get, there's a lot of socialization going on with animals that wasn't in existence like when I was a kid. So there's a lot of improvements, but if an animal is having a lot of behavior issues, then you have to start looking at the bigger picture. And if you don't have time to do that, a shortcut really is hiring an animal communicator, because they'll go straight to it. But you also have to understand that animal communicators are blunt. Like, I know I am. Like, I'm very direct, I'm very honest, I'm kind. But if I see something, I'm going to mention it. And sometimes people get really uncomfortable and they start squirming, because dogs and cats and, different animals that are being communicated with, they're honest, man. They don't have any filters. So occasionally they will protect their person or whatever by not mentioning certain things that are important. But most of the time they'll just blab. Like, they'll just talk. And they'll show pictures, and if they're upset about something, they'll rant. And I can't speak for other animal communicators. I can only speak for myself. But when I first started doing animal communication, when I was working with clients, I'm not doing so much of that now, though I will be doing it again in the future when I feel better. But in the meantime, I'm getting just random animals complaining to me. Not about me, but they're just, and sometimes I feel like I'm in danger, because I've had dogs growl at me in these low, like, menacing barks and growls. I've had dogs trying to get through windows, like they're behind glass and they're trying to break out of a house or something. And I have to say, I get really nervous when that happens, and I walk really fast and I try to get out of there. But it's not really me personally. They just want out. They're seeing me walking, and it's not fair that I'm out walking and they can't walk, and so they get really frustrated. And then some of those dogs probably are dangerous, and hopefully they're not. But there's been, like some German Shepherds that I had one, actually, I think it might be the same one several times, kind of lunge at me. Luckily I'm far enough away, but if it, it's got a thick enough leash that I'm safe. But I've had to clear across the street. I've had to go up other blocks. I've had to completely rearrange my route, because there'll be a dog, it'll either be a German Shepherd or a very large dog that is not very friendly, we should say. And I don't communicate with those dogs, because I don't want that energy in my field. And so I will just sort of push away the energy, and then I'll, keep walking. But if I were to have conversations with those animals, I'm sure they're not happy about something, because a happy animal is not going to be aggressive like that. And usually it's not that they want to hurt anybody. Sometimes it's just frustration and irritation, or they keep hearing the same sound. Like, maybe there's something in the house that beeps every hour or beeps constantly. Like, maybe somebody they forget to turn off their alarm clock, or, they go to work. And so the dog or the cat, they're in this house all day, and there's this high-pitched sound that keeps going off. And then when their person comes home, the dog is just jumping on them and showing the whale eye and trembling. And it's not just because they're happy that the person's come home. They're actually frustrated because they can't get away from a certain noise. Or there could be things on timers. So they, like a dishwashing machine or something like that, and when it comes on, it makes a certain prompt noise. And because the animals are home alone when this is happening, they don't know what that is, and it's frightening for them. Even if the same thing happens every day at the same time, it can be very irritating to them. So it's a good idea to sort of watch them, observe them throughout the day and see if they're disturbed by certain noises, or if there's maybe, I remember somebody was looking for animal communication. They wanted to know what was up with their cat, I think it was. Yeah, I think it was a cat. And the cat was actually being terrorized by a neighbor cat. So the neighbor cat was coming over when the people were at work, so they didn't know about this, and it would get on like the outside of where the window was, and it would terrorize this cat that was like inside a house. So the cat was becoming very fearful and very anxious. And then they went on, I think this one was like a free thing where a lot of different communicators would just tune in and say, okay, I'm going to see what's going on. And I remember with one of these cats, what I got was that this other neighbor cat was coming and bullying this cat that was inside the house. And so the cat, what was doing was peeing all over the house. And so the question was, why is my cat like peeing all over the house, right? Like why are they doing this? And it was out of fear, and also kind of being territorial and like trying to protect its space, because this other cat was coming over and it was bullying. So the solution was, I think it was like to close the curtain or something like that during the day, so that the cat can't see the other cat out there, and probably could still smell it. I don't know how they can sense it, but I think, sometimes there's things that happen during the day that you don't know about. So if you can observe like the day in the life of your animal, like indoors, outdoors, wherever they're going, and look for things. And also in your garden and in all these other things where the dog or the cat might go, look for plants that might be toxic, like poison hemlock or poison oak or poison ivy, or anything that could be on your property. And have these things removed. And then there's even some plants that are not poisonous to us that could be poisonous to them. Also berries, different berries, like the yew berry is the yew tree berry is toxic. So look for things like that. Don't become paranoid, but definitely take like a first aid class for dogs and cats. I don't know if they have first aid for other types of pets, but look up those classes and take those classes so that you can remove certain things from your garden or your yard or your house, and bring protection. So that's my topic for today. It was going to start out with, what are animals trying to communicate to us? And I really feel like it's safety. They want to feel safe. They want to feel heard. And they want to get outdoors. So I'm mainly talking about the dogs in that case, because I know a lot of cats in communities, it's not really safe to let them out unless you got like a huge cat, that can protect itself. But even then, you may not want to let that cat out, because it could kill a bunch of songbirds, and birds are saying that their populations are declining. And getting back to the bird thing, I didn't finish that sentence. So cats have been getting out of houses and they've been killing birds. And the reason birds are so close to a lot of houses is if people live in a cold, damp area, the birds are nesting in like roofs or like eaves and places near a house, because they're getting the heat that comes out of the house. So a lot of times you're thinking the heat is only in the house, but there's heat that can escape a house even with insulation. And the birds are actually using that warmth, especially during nesting season, to stay warm, because the weather on the planet has been really unusual. And also there's a lot of things that they're protecting themselves from, like eagles and hawks and bigger birds that prey on their nests and things like that. So they're looking for more enclosed areas, or looking for like safer areas, which could be your house. But if they're near your front door, like above your front door, or they're somewhere flying maybe into a bush or something to get insects, and your cat is in the front yard, and your cat tends to be a hunter, then that cat could end up killing birds, and that the birds are concerned that their populations are diminishing. And it's not all types of birds, but songbirds are the ones that are communicating this. So those are some things to think about. This is a very serious topic. If I do have some time this Friday, I will do a short Reiki session. If I don't, then I'll do it next week. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed this topic, and will share it with others, especially people who have pets. I'm not trying to come off as a know-it-all, but this is just information that I'm picking up from birds, from dogs, from cats. And also I speak with dead animals as well as live animals, so animals in spirit. And I'll put my link below, Talk to Animals. It's on, well, if I can get the link, I'll put it below. It's on Substack, and I talked to a Maine Coon Cat named Harry, a dog that I fostered named Chewy, and there's a Border Collie named Sparkles, who I never met. I've never met Harry or Sparkles when they were in the living. They came to me after they were in spirit. And then the other one is Secretariat, who has been with me in spirit for like a really long time. And then when he saw that I was channeling animals on Substack, he decided that he was going to have a piece of that as well. So it's called Talk to Animals. It is real. Some of the conversations are hilarious. Others are esoteric and spiritual. And it's been really entertaining for me. And also it took a lot of courage for me to do that, because it does seem kind of wacko. I mean, it will if you don't, like, if for people who don't know about animal communication, they'll think, well, she's really lost it. But that's okay. They can think that, because I know it's real. And people who go there and read it know it's real as well. So thank you. Have a wonderful week with you and your pet bonding. Bye for now.